Good day, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer Slow/podcast. This is Etienne Marcel Portsuit. And on this edition, we're going to be speaking with the Director of Operations and for for Good Atlanta, Laureus USA, Julia Lankford. And we're going to delve into some special events that the organization is having coming up in the month of June. But as always, to follow everything that we do, head to the mothership, thesportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also head to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook, and many others. Just look us up once again under Etienne Marcel Petute or the Sports Inquirer. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe on our audio and video host, which include YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. As I mentioned, we were able to speak with the Julia as the team. They are a team, but technically they are an organization for Laureus USA Sport for Good Atlanta. They have some really exciting activities going on in the month of June, as I mentioned, and I was very fortunate to be able to speak with her as they get ready for those events. So let's go ahead and bring Julia on and enjoy. All right, once again, Etienne Marcel Petute, the Sports Inquirer. We're now joined by Julia Lankford, Director of Operations and Sport for Good Atlanta. Julia, thank you for joining us on the Sports Inquirer show. We met a few weeks ago at the Sport for Change event, and I was really inspired by what your organization is doing. Before we get into that event and a little bit more, tell us a little bit more about Laureus Sport for Good and kind of what the organization's about.
Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you for having me, and I'm so glad you was able to get a lot of the event that you attended a couple of weeks ago. But to start off, Laureus Sport for Good USA or Laureus Sport for Good Foundation USA is a nonprofit foundation that uses sport for a tool for youth development. Our whole premise and purpose is that we want to improve and impact the lives of youth and unite community through the power of sport. And we do that in several different ways. Like um, you was able to experience that with bringing people together in a convening and looking at how storytelling can help impact what we do every day. We also do this through grant making. We fund organizations across the country, but primarily in our four Sport for Good cities that uses sport as a tool for youth development. And those grants can range from anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. That is all using sport as that tool for youth development. And then another component that we try to offer, and I can share these resources after, is using the tool of research and evaluation of helping telling not only the storytelling aspect of it, but the data points around how sport really can impact the lives of young people.
Yeah, and we just went to the Sports Choir. We were at the event Sport for Change, a documentary by Community and Focus, and highlighting those organizations: Blaze Sports, First Tee Atlanta, and the Atlanta Track Club. What about that dynamic of working within the city of Atlanta, where we're based, and those relationships, and how has that been, for the organization with the youth of Atlanta and Metro Georgia overall?
So I think it's really been impactful. For those that may not know, Laureus started in Atlanta in 2017. So we've been here making an impact through grant making, through convening, through network building, professional development, and training since 2017. And when we look at and think about our key stakeholders, which is our grantees that we call our partners, that has ranged as the three organizations you mentioned: Blaze Sport, First Tee of Metro Atlanta, and Atlanta Track Club, that uses three different ways of using sport as a tool for youth development. You had one that is looking at adaptive sport, one that's using the game of golf, and another one that is using running to help build that confidence and resilience in young people, of helping them not only inspire but aspire to whatever they choose to be. I truly believe you can't be what you can't see, and those organizations have provided the tools and the resources that has helped young people have access to more sporting programs in their community. Excuse me. So here in Atlanta, we have provided over probably 40 something organizations with grants in some kind of way. We've also provided professional development and training support. What that professional development looks like is coaching, it is around HR development, organizational development. One right now that we're really fully pushing is around safeguarding for young people and young adults. That also includes what you was able to experience with community and focus of helping organizations that told us their direct need was how can they continue to tell their story, and working and partnering with community and focus, we then use that pathway to say, hey, this is how Laureus can help continue and being that backbone support to help propel organizations tell their story.
Yeah, and that's really important because these organizations, they're so focused on obviously what their purpose is and what they're doing. It seems like finances and also just overall promotion, like the kind of the business end of it, kind of gets lost, and that's really difficult, I think, for a lot of these organizations. So the cause is good, and even the execution of their what they're trying to do is good. It's just the finances really of it, and the you mentioned human resources and even networking with other organizations. Just how important is that for the nonprofits and really these community organizations to I don't just have their money right, kind of in a way. And how does your organization really help them with not only that's the finances of making sure you're taking care of your books, but just really also just the general money end of things? Because it sounds like that's really a big part of what you help them out with.
Yeah, and Laureus as a nonprofit itself, like we seek out funding to help other organizations. So we are unique where we are an intermediary foundation that also is seeking grant funds to help support other organizations. Financial management is really key with that. And when we talk about financial management, that's not just only on the grants management side of us assisting the organizations of, you know, not only do we look at grant making a little different that we're not make we yes, we want to make sure it's grammatically correct and so forth, but we really try to read the grants from a standpoint of the impact and what the organization is doing. And then beyond that, is sometimes that organizational development and financial support that is needed for an organization. So with our grants, we are organizations are allowed to use those funds for staff for those things. It's not always tied to let's serve 500 more young people and those kind of things, because what we have found is the infrastructure is really key in an organization. You can serve young people, but if you don't have the right staff that's properly trained, that understands what the organization needs are as well as the young people's needs, then a lot of that stuff goes on the back burner and you don't really get to see the impact of the great work that organization is doing. And so we try to position ourselves to not only be a partner but a thought leader on these are some creative ways and approaches you can use to make sure you're managing your organization well. One thing that we find in a lot of our organizations that we work with is that one person is doing 20 jobs, and burnout is going to easily come with that. So like how do you prepare for succession planning and so forth to make sure you're bringing on good quality people and you can then keep and retain your staff.
Yeah, that is massively important, and I see with the events you have coming up, and even with the event that I attended, the Sport for Good, networking was you even had a dedicated time for networking, and the events that you have coming up, I see that as well. How important is that not only for small business owners like myself in general, but just when you in your industry, you dedicate networking as a big part of this. How important is that for your organization and even for the organizations that you're giving grants to?
Networking is key. And I think this is a skill that a lot of our organizations are still learning, and just people in general, is networking, but also to build trust, because it's hard to work with people if you don't trust them. And so Lori is creating these avenues to unify organizations and people who are working in all different areas. I think it then helps with looking at, well, okay, I met them, I've seen them at the Laureus convenings, I've seen them at other things. Every time, let me reach out to see how we can work together. Where we've seen this been highly successful, a lot of organizations partnered to work in a lot of the metro Atlanta schools. A lot of the organizations have partnered together for when they do their CPR and their first aid training. It is really key because we really can't, the problem that we're all trying to solve for, to make sure this world is a better place, we can't do it alone. And so networking and trust building and working together in collaboration helps all achieve that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we have two events in the month of June that your organization is having. We'll start with the one on Wednesday, June 4th. Looks like it's a town hall. Please tell us more about it, how people can be involved and learn more about it.
Yes, so on Wednesday, June 4th, we are having a town hall with a fireside chat to feature two highly qualified professionals to talk about the intersection and the impact of sport and mental health. I think what we were able to see in this country, especially during COVID and post COVID, is that physical activity and other elements can really help impact and increase mental wellness. And we've had so many people to talk about, I need more information on this. How can I help young people? So to have Dr. Lauren Beasley, Dr. Kenza Gunner to really have a fireside chat conversation around the impact of mental wellness and sport, I'm really overjoyed and speechless of being able to have this resource and access for the Atlanta community to experience this.
Right. And then on June 11th, Wednesday, you have your events with the children, the Day
We
of
do.
Sport. Yeah, elaborate more on that. And hear and see the excitement already talking about it. Where is it taking place, and how can people learn more about it?
So on June 11th, we have the Laureus Sport for Good Atlanta annual Day of Sport. We have been doing this since 2017, since we launched. We are now doing this in partnership for the second year in a row with Atlanta Parks and Rec, which speaks to your question earlier around networking, partnership, and building relationship. This is huge. We will do this at Adams Park on June 11th, and we're partnering with some of the Parks and Rec camps, as well as one of the boys clubs and so forth, to bring young people to Adams Park to experience 10 sporting stations that they may not have experienced before. So that's going to range from adaptive wheelchair, volleyball, swimming, running, and an obstacle course, soccer, golf, football. I hope I have named them, and biking. Biking has been the one, and tennis. So it has been an extremely wonderful opportunity to really expose young people to different sports, but also to showcase our grantees and our partners of the wonderful programs that they have offering for the Metro Atlanta community.
Yeah, and how can people learn more about the organization in general? Social media platforms, websites. How can people just educate themselves more on what your endeavors are?
So I will go high level to local level. So you can go on our website, www.laureususa.com. You can also check out our Instagram, which is Laureus USA, as well as I think we're on, I'm not in the trending things, but I think is it Threads or X now? One of those things we're on.
You're good.
And then locally, again, my name is Julia Lankford. You can reach out to me at julia.lankford at Laureus, LAUREUS.com. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn as Julia Lankford. And so those are all the resources that you can use to get in contact with us. We also use the hashtag of Sport for Good ATL, and also just Sport for Good if you want to learn about all the wonderful programs that we're doing nationally and globally.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And once again, thank you for joining us on the show. We'll end on a personal note. How did you get involved with the organization? How long have you been with them? And just what do you enjoy about being with the organization and working in the greater Atlanta community?
Yeah, so I my story is unique. I actually started out as community and economic development. My background is in economic development. I look at how you build community development, and when I learned about Laureus through the other organization I was working with, I worked with them closely on working with how to get into Atlanta. And what I was extremely impressed about when Laureus came to Atlanta, it wasn't what can we do for Atlanta? What is Atlanta missing? It was how can we work together? And for those who are really in community economic development, we know we like to do things in partnership. And so that really was a selling point for me. I reached out and said, "Hey, I think I want to apply for this job when it comes to Atlanta." And I got it. And it has been just a tremendous journey of looking at community economic development from a sports-based youth development end. And what I mean by that, it is few things that can bring community together. And sport is one of those things that can bring community together like nothing else does. And when that community comes together, that community is thriving from an economic development standpoint, whether that's buying things at a concession stand, whether that's buying uniform. They had to buy that uniform from somewhere. That's also community coming together. That team learns how to win together. That team learns how to lose together. So working at Laureus put all of my experience all together of community development, economic development, and youth development together. And so that is why I'm here 8 years later.
We love it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Julia. Really appreciate it. And once again, follow them and all those platforms that you mentioned. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk in the future when you have some other events
Yes.
taking place. We will look forward to it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
And we thank her. Well, we thank the entire organization for. Thank Julia Lankford, Director of Operations and Sports for Good Atlanta within Laureus USA. And we're looking forward to speaking with her in the future and hearing how those events took place. Always good to see positive contributors to the community of Greater Atlanta, where we are based. As always, to follow and everything that we do, you can head to the mothership, the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also head to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook under the Sports Inquirer or Etienne Marcel Pursuit. And finally, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all of our audio and video hosts. That does include YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and much more. Once again, thank you for listening or watching this latest interview on the Sports Inquirer show. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.